Hello and good evening, everyone. I'm Rob Scom with our tech guy, Churchill from Davao DeFi community, here again with our DDC On Demand, part of our weekly webcast show series, episode number 8. So before we begin, please note that our program prioritizes education, knowledge sharing, and over financial advice. So we encourage independent research and due diligence. And thank you for joining us. Our discussion for tonight will be centered about Omnichain, breaking barriers and connecting chains in the Web3. And we're happy today that we have our guest, Sir Mrigank, co-founder of Eddy Finance. Sir, welcome to the show and thank you for taking the time.
Hey, thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me here. Super excited to share my opinions on what we're building at Eddy. Just a quick introduction from my end. I'm Mrigank. I'm the co-founder of Eddy Finance, and super excited to be here and addressing the community.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I would like to thank also Zeta Chain, particularly Sir Jonathan, for referring you to us on this show to discuss about Omnichain, of course, particularly Eddy Finance. So let's get started. I would like to ask, most of the time, we are curious about our different builders, our guest builders here. And we would like to ask, can you share like a brief experience, how you got into the industry?
Awesome. Sure. So basically, I was working in a fintech startup. It's called Cred in India. I was interning there. So I was working on a lot of fintech stuff. From there, I started getting into Web3 ecosystem. And in general, I pretty much liked it. I spent a lot of time just understanding how finance can become better if decentralization comes into picture, and then got introduced to the power of smart contracts. Now, seeing all of that, I got pretty excited. Started working in the space, contributing here and there, started working with a few projects in general, and then I joined Flint in the product team. So Flint is a Sequoia-backed startup, and we're also now building LogX. So I worked on the Flint's app, which was around yields. So you can invest and then you get yields on your crypto. And essentially we supported more than 20 coins. It was a centralized application. So I worked there for a couple of years. And during my time at Flint, I got excited to sort of solve more problems in a more decentralized manner. With the team there, we sort of worked towards also another product, it's called GasPay, which is more of a UI tool enhancer. So if you have GasPay installed and you go to any of the dApps, imagine Uniswap, you don't have to pay gas fees. It's automatically contributed in the swapping amount that you swap for. So we tried to make the UX better, and then in our journey to make that UX better, I started working on the biggest hurdle in this space, which is Omnichain, and then got involved working with Zeta Chain, deployed like our product called Eddy Finance, and then our core aim is to sort of make that Omnichain experience quite smooth, make it safe, as well as very easy and intuitive, so that we can communicate between chains, have the easy transfers, movement of liquidity possible. And that's now what we are sort of focusing on. So my journey started from basically doing product at fintech to slowly and eventually becoming like a pure Web3 firm.
Yeah, amazing. From fintech to Web3. Nice intro there, sir. Now, I know our topic is very, new, because majority of us haven't heard about Omnichain, and because of Zeta Chain, it's trying to come up with this type of technology. So, in the current blockchain landscape, numerous innovative projects are emerging. Among the crucial elements for progress is interoperability. We have the trilemma already: the security, decentralization, and of course, what we call the interoperability, which is very inclusive between communication about blockchain. Now, can you tell us about what is the core principle of Omnichain, and can you provide an overview of what is Omnichain all about? Some of the solution it's driving within the blockchain space.
Awesome, sure. So basically, let me just start with the basic things that we speak generally in Web3 about, right? Number one is multi-chain. So let's say you have a dApp and that dApp's working across multiple chains. Let's say Uniswap, SushiSwap. Now that's called multi-chain because they are deployed on multiple chains. Something's cross-chain. In cross-chain, what happens is if you do an action on one chain, you're able to sort of communicate that with the other chain via some processes. It could be a cross-chain messaging platform, etc. So it's called cross-chain, where funds basically move from one chain to the other. Omni-chain is like a concept that's sort of one level above this, where you have contracts which are deployed at a singular point, and now they can basically, they do not need to sync states. They can just call any of these chains and then get the thing done, right? So for example, Zeta Chain is doing great work here. With Zeta Chain you can build omni-chain smart contracts, and then what that allows you to do is just deploy on one chain and then be active on other chains. It also means, imagine a world where you can now get away with the barriers of the chain. I think that's what the interesting topic is: breaking the barriers, connecting the chains, right? I mean, I heard my older co-founder speak about interoperability. I think that sums up it quite well, which is that imagine interoperability to be the same way that how your SIM cards work. When I, for example, move from India to the Philippines, I do not need to change my SIM card. It automatically adapts to the tower that sort of gives the network. So omni-chain, in my opinion, in my thought, is a notion that is presented, and it makes everything seamless. So you do not have to think twice about changing chains, dabbling into, hey, what chain I am on, and everything sort of comes together. And I think omni-chain smart contracts or projects like Zeta Chain are driving that thought, where you can just have it in one location, or your complex logic, everything being governed by just one position, and then that sort of cripples down and lets you do things very easily on other chains, enhances security, just makes your user experience very seamless, because you don't have to think about chains or what chain I'm using. You just have to use it, and just like the same way, right? I don't have to think about connecting to the right tower. It just automatically happens on my phone.
Yeah, amazing. So basically, Omnichain be able to bridge natively on different chains, because that's most of the problem now with regards to interoperability. Blockchain are somehow fragmented. They have its own liquidity, and it's really hard for new users to come in, like the learning curve of bridging asset. Of course, there are also security risks in the process. So now,
Exactly.
how this Omnichain correlates to Zeta Chain? By build, Zeta Chain is Omnichain itself. Can you expound about this?
Yeah. So what basically there are obviously, like, as you spoke, there is a huge need for us to have omnichain solutions come up, right? I mean, the first part begins with the fragmentation of liquidity that's been happening. There are a lot of L1s coming up. There are then being L2s built on top of it. Then you've also got app chains, which will only grow from here. So within a couple of years at max, you'll have a lot of cool chains coming up with good utility. So liquidity is being fragmented just in the last 2 years, and it will further continue to even accelerate that fragmentation part. And in that case, it becomes very important for you to be able to sort of bring that liquidity all together and have dApps that can utilize omnichain capabilities. And this is where I think Zeta Chain perfectly comes in. The biggest, I think, plus point of Zeta Chain today is the Zeta Chain Omni-chain smart contracts. Now, what these Omni-chain smart contracts let you do is deploy contracts on Zeta Chain that can now call other chains. Now, what that does is you don't have to, as a developer, go and deploy contracts on, let's say, 6 different chains. It makes your job easy to maintain, to sort of make sure that you're running the right thing. Second is Zeta Chain lets you also connect with their infrastructure using TSS addresses in their architecture. They're able to connect more chains, which is, for example, Bitcoin, Dogecoin, Cardano. So the chains that do not effectively run, let's say, smart contracts or EVM ecosystems, they're also still connected. Now that, in essence, how that can unlock a lot of things is, if you imagine Bitcoin, which is the highest of the liquidity, now these guys can participate on DeFi, which primarily exists on the EVM ecosystem. So now you can create amazing use cases which just stipulate via Zeta Chain. That's one part of it. The other is the way Zeta Chain has been built. It gives a lot of security as well as speed benefits. Number one is you can get away with wrapping assets, which does not usually happen with the existing cross-chain mechanisms, which are, let's say, lock and burn, or you have like trustless contracts. It also reduces the surface attack vectors in a sense that, hey, you do not need to look at two smart contracts on different chains. And if you're like a omni-chain dApp, right, you already have been deployed on 20 dApps, you're bridging through it, or etc. You don't have to worry about, hey, attack being done on pool A, draining it out, or pool B, or fraudulent messaging, because Zeta Chain sort of brings that all together and then gives like a big layer of safety. So in a sense, think if you want to develop anything that goes across chains, Zeta Chain has a solution with its layer to enable that and fast track it and make it very easy for developers, as well as safe and cheaper for the end user. Enhances the also the biggest point I think for a user perspective is you don't have to think about gas fees on 3 different chains. It just happens, right? So Zeta Chain has been able to build like a good infra to allow apps like us to propel from there and then build good experiences on top that have great value.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, like you mentioned before that like you in different country you're becoming in, but you have only one SIM. So that's an analogy in the aspect of omnichain. Now,
Yes.
can we like put a scenario like how does really it works in the aspect like, for example, I have a wallet in omnichain. So my wallet can host to the majority of the native token of different blockchain, like particularly Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and like Solana, Avalanche, and of course Ethereum, the EVM. So how do we send and receive from this chain? Does we need just
Right.
write the address directly, or how easy is it?
Yeah, so I'll just give that example using our own app, which is Eddy Finance, right? So imagine you've got a lot of Bitcoin sitting in your Bitcoin wallet. Let's assume any wallet, right? XDeFi, Xverse, Uniswap, whatever you use. So if you come to Eddy Finance, you just have to connect your Bitcoin wallet, then you connect your EVM or Ethereum wallet. And the next thing that you just have to do is just tap on swap and enter the amount, like in any dApp like Uniswap you would. You've got both your wallets connected, you enter the amount, you just put swap, and you move your native asset, native BTC to native ETH within 20-25 seconds. And that's the power of utilizing Zeta Chain and then being able to build on top of it. So in general, let me just also like take one step back and talk about how it's done currently. So currently what you generally would do is you would have to go through, deposit it with some custodian or a trustless sort of contract, and then you would have to lock in your BTC, and you would get wrapped BTC against it. It could be any, I'm just taking WBTC for an example, but it could be any sort of derivative or synthetic asset. Now that now has presentation on chains like Ethereum. So you take that to Ethereum and then you can use that wrapped asset. Now that has three major downsides. Number one is if it's with a custodian, you obviously cannot trust it fully, right? I mean, for example, all of the wrapped BTC is probably governed by or has been set or taken care by BitGo. So if something goes wrong with BitGo, God forbid, then you lose the value of wrapped BTC depegs. Second is if it's happening in a trustless manner. We've seen time in time out hacks been happening. I think last year we lost about $2.7 billion just in bridge hacks, and that becomes dangerous because you've got a contract sitting right on, let's say, chain A, or a contract sitting on chain B, and then a cross-chain messaging there. What attacks in general, how they occur is somebody attacks chain A, drains out the pool on chain A. Now you have assets on chain B, but they're not backed by anything. Or the other way to do these attacks is you fraudulently trigger chain B to release funds when there have been no assets sent to chain A. And imagine now that's just two contracts. Imagine a lot of contracts being happening, and that sort of debalances the whole part where you need a synthetic or a wrapped asset. When native assets move, their risk is limited in terms of time. Because it cuts down to just while the transfer is happening. Whereas when you deal with wrapped assets or synthetic assets, it stays till the time you hold the asset. So in that essence, your risk has been reduced, and obviously you sort of have better applications. The second part of it is when you use wrapped assets in a DeFi ecosystem, they have less utility because you would have more use cases for ETH rather than, let's say, wrapped ETH, right? So and with every sort of bridge having their own version, it becomes way more complicated because you're handling more assets. It has less second order utility compared to a native asset. So just coming back to your question, with Eddy, it's super easy. You just connect your wallets, put in the amounts, enter swap, just sign a transaction, and you just pay the gas fees which you would for a transfer function, which is sending ETH to a friend, right? And for very cheap or very less gas cost, instead of any complex message passing, it's done at a very cost-effective manner, and then we deduct the BTC and you'll get the ETH in your ETH wallet. So that's I just took an example between Bitcoin and Ethereum. You can also do it between using a single wallet. If it's a EVM wallet, for example, MetaMask, you can do it via Polygon to Ethereum, or Ethereum to Polygon, or to BNB, to Clayton, etc. Right? So it becomes quite easy in that manner, and it's like as seamless as it can get.
Yeah, this is really amazing use case for an infrastructure, because majority of the users that coming in will have easy onboarding in the process, be able to bridge your asset natively from different blockchain, or using DeFi apps, you're not able to see what blockchain it's coming from. It's seamless in the process. So obviously, as we can see, this narrative of omnichain and interoperability is the driving factor of Eddy Finance in building in Zeta Chain, or are there? Can you add up more reason why you choose Zeta Chain, not other blockchain?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So, in terms of why we choose Zeta Chain, there were a few aspects that we wanted to sort of focus on corely as our principles. First was, how do we, for users, make it as user friendly as possible, and second was, how do we ensure the safety. So the way that infrastructure of Zeta Chain has been built, we had to utilize their omnichain smart contracts. Now they come with a huge advantage because we could now build complex logics, which is, let's say, for us, having a unified liquidity pool for, let's say, all the stable coins on chains and at a single location via Zeta Chain's omnichain smart contract. So essentially, you can have a pool with all the native assets. Example, Ether on Ethereum, to Bitcoin on Bitcoin, to BNB on BNB, BS chain, right? All of these in a single pool, and they can live through. You don't have to worry about. Because while using Zeta Chain, we do not have to worry about syncing states, and how that helps us is that we can avoid any reversion. I think I'm getting a little bit technical, but in a sense, it enhances your safety a lot, right? Because let me just also explain now that, right? I mean, imagine if you're using a unified pool, there are benefits to it. The biggest benefit is obviously you have higher liquidity. You have all the assets sitting there, you have higher liquidity. But the thing with unified smart contracts is the chains have different block speeds. For example, Polygon's block time would be faster than Ethereum. So in case I sent a message via Ethereum telling my pool to release Bitcoin, 10 minutes later, somebody sends it via Polygon. And if imagine like Polygon's way faster than Ethereum, it will reach the message will reach here faster. And then you will release funds to Polygon and receive the message via Ethereum later, and that would drain the pool, right? Because in that case, you would have to revert the transaction, which is very costly and cost bridges a lot if they're using unified pools. But with Zeta Chain, what happens is it's built in a way that you don't have to worry about syncing states all the time. Second is, Zeta Chain for us was a no-brainer in the essence that when it comes to cost, we don't have to do complex message passing, which becomes very expensive. Also, the way sort of cross-chain messaging work, and Zeta Chain has been able to solve it, it reduces the attack vectors in combination, let's say, using layers, oracles, etc., which again enhances the number of attack vectors possible. So in terms of safety, it becomes great for us. And while let's say while we built Eddy, you don't have to go through like complex messaging, whereas the gas fee is same as sending your native assets to a friend, right? So it becomes as cheap as possible. So for us, the omnichain smart contracts, we were able to apply complicated logics on omnichain smart contracts. Otherwise, which via just cross-chain messaging would have been more expensive and more complex to handle. And second was just being able to create like a good user experience where they don't have to think about holding an extra token for gas fees, and just also like not thinking about syncing states or having the complexities of additional costs. So for us, where we were trying to optimize for safety as well as speed and cost, I think Zeta Chain was the best fit, and that's why we built it on Zeta Chain.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's really a daunting for doing cross-chain swapping different asset, and the gas fee can easily build up in the process and costing you a lot. Now, let's try to backtrack a bit so that for our listeners or majority of the newbies be able to familiar with Eddy Finance. So, what is basically Eddy Finance? Can you explain it a bit in a non-technical aspect?
Awesome. Sure. So Eddy Finance is an omni-chain DEX. We're the first one to build an omni-chain DEX on Zeta Chain. And what we let you do is just connect your wallets, move from chain A to chain B. In our case today, we support 5 chains. So you can move your native assets as well as your stable coins between chains. And yeah, basically we do not do any wrapping, and it will be like super cost effective for you as a general user, right? Because there you will have to pay the least gas fees and you'll get your tokens as fast as possible. So for a user perspective, it's a way to move your liquidity from chain A to chain B without spending a lot on transaction fees, slippage, or gas fees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very important because some of my experience now lately with the existing fragmented liquidity, you cannot basically swap large amount, not having a high slippage in the process. When you say unified liquidity, so the liquidity sits on Eddy Finance and Zeta Chain, or it's distributed on different blockchain, and you can just pull some liquidity once like a swap is being triggered with like, is that how it works?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. So basically, we when you put into the pools, you deploy it on the native chains, and when need be, that we maintain a unified pool on Zeta chain, and that's sort of called whenever a swap's happening. So in that case, you can leverage unified liquidity, but also make sure that there are no risk hazards attached to it.
Mm-hmm. Like for example, I'm swapping a stable coin, particularly USDC. So how do the Eddy Finance categorize this swap if it is a USDC native on Ethereum or in Polygon or in Binance Smart Chain? How do Eddy Finance identify where to get that liquidity for my swap?
Okay, so let me just take an example of you swapping your USDC on, let's say, Ethereum to USDT on Polygon, right? In that case, what happens is we have a pool in which you can add liquidity to get yields, etc. And that pool is a stablecoin pool, right? So all your assets are stablecoin. It's how probably like Curve works, right? So the same way we have a stable swap AMM deployed here, and our contracts deployed on Zeta chain. Now in the Zeta chain contract, you have ZRC20 denoting your USDC on Ethereum and a USDT on Polygon. And when you're swapping, the logic sort of works on the Zeta chain. Your ZRC20 are swapped, and then a withdraw function is called, which gives you the native asset on that particular chain. So while you're swapping it out, we have a pool kept on Zeta chain with the ZRCs. Your token works on the ZRC20, it gets swapped out, and then it's withdrawn to the chain. In our example, when we are swapping USDC on Ethereum to USDT on Polygon, you send USDC on Ethereum, that gets converted into ZRC, that's swapped out on our contract for USDT ZRC20 on Polygon, and that's then withdrawn to your Polygon account. And in that case, you get the native asset as fast as possible at lower cost, because everything, the transaction and the contract validity is being done on the chain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, amazing. That's very relief processing in the aspect of it. Now, are there any chance that is it applicable like the iteration of the innovation of DEXs or swapping mechanism? Like, as we know, Uniswap has been using concentrated liquidity to get more efficient swap mechanism in the process. Is that applicable to Eddy Finance or so, or it's not built outright? when you try to
So
launch?
basically, we've optimized in two cases, right? So when you're doing your stable swaps, we have the stable swap AMM algorithm working, which is the curve algorithm. So you can think of when you're trying to swap, do cross-chain stable coin swaps. We are like curve for omni-chain stable coin swapping mechanism. While let's say you're doing native assets, our pools are built more around the architecture of that of Uniswap. So what that has enabled us to do is optimize when you're doing cross chain, because you're being able to sort of concentrate the logic on Zeta chain and deploy like complex logics for cross chain, which becomes tough just by doing cross chain messaging, right? So that's there. Currently, we use tools on native assets which are more similar to V2.
Mhm.
But yes, in the roadmap, we are also going to upgrade to the concentrated liquidity model for doing, let's say, native assets. And for obviously stable coins, we have the stable swap AMM model, which is the most proficient one out there.
Yeah, that's nice. Now, let's try to proceed a bit of the rundown about Eddy Finance. So, if you can identify like what are the challenges and vulnerabilities associated with cross-chain interoperability in DeFi space, can you identify some of that?
Yes, yes, for sure. I think as I was talking about that earlier as well, right? Which is the current mechanisms majorly involve few elements that have their own risks associated with it. The first one's obviously when you're using a lock and burn plus a redeem mechanism of sorts. What generally tends to happen is your risk is extended till the time you hold the asset. Whereas when you're just dealing with native assets, that cuts down to the time the transfers only being happening. So inherently, you just reduce the time for duration of the risk that you hold. The second one, today, I think one of the bigger challenges in cross chain is, again, it's always going to be probably safety and time efficiency.
Yeah. Mhm.
For two reasons. Like one is huge amount of losses just occurred in 2022 in terms of bridge hacks. It contributes to the majority of the hacks that happen in bridges. Uh, and it's again like as I talked about, right? It's because too many contracts and too many chains with too many attack vectors. Your cross chain communication having many attack vectors, etc. So that needs to be cut down, and that enabling that all safety layer and ensuring that you have the right amount of speed becomes hard. Just if you think about it, right? I mean, for things like perp dexes, where speed is the master, because you need to close trades, open trades very fast. Your time efficiency becomes very complicated to handle, and since you're waiting for block confirmations on, let's
Mhm.
say, if you're using a middle layer in between a cross chain, you probably depend on three confirmations to do your transaction, and that takes time. So I think the bigger challenges are again in terms of safety, mm, moving away from normal assets, having to comply with, let's say, um, building out your infrastructure in a way that you do not have a lot of attack vectors exposed, making sure all your contracts are safe there, and then the last one's speed. So I think these are the few elements that today make cross-chain very complicated. And I think
Mhm.
we're, with what CTC is doing, you can now experiment with bringing complicated logics in the omni-chain space, which has not been possible for a long time. So I think there has been great development done in the omni-chain ecosystem in the space, and I think there are more optimizations to still go from here, and that's what we're going to see probably in the next couple of years being built out by teams like Zeta.
Yeah, that's nice. So basically, Eddy Finance is solving these issues and problem in the process. Actually, what's one of the most innovative aspect of Zeta Chain really is integrating the Omni-chain on the contract level itself. So it's really an amazing blockchain and platform with regards to interoperability. Now, is Eddy Finance having to provision for security aspect also for your protocol? Like, are you doing aligning for like an audit to secure
Yes.
your own smart contract also?
Yes, so currently we have done one audit. We are undergoing the second audit. So the center of our also philosophy is safety, user experience, and having like good cost efficiency in the whole ecosystem, and that's what we are sort of also committed towards. That's why again, like in terms of safety aspect, that's why we decided to build on Zeta Chain. We've gone through an audit once, and obviously we're now getting a bigger audit done so that it's as transparent as possible, right? And that's why that's been our core focus, to make sure that the safety is the utmost priority.
Nice. Now, just want to be clear, Zeta Chain and Eddy Finance are still on the testnet, right?
Yes, we're still on the testnet, and yeah, we've been running the whole app. I'm very happy to share that we've almost crossed 200K cross-chain transactions on the testnet, and that sort of helps us build more conviction on the architecture that we've used. Apart from that, we've crossed about 35 hits, which is again a great milestone for us to achieve.
So you have an existing community already doing the testing, right? On your
Yeah, we've got a community of about like 30K unique wallets, so who've been like regularly testing our apps out. We've also launched like a rewards program, so for the testers who are coming in doing their solves, we give them points, and that essentially correlates to an interesting sort of reward system that culminates when we launch. So it's a great mechanism for you to come and try out and see the magic of how you can move across chains at a very smooth rate, right? I mean, without any friction, as quickly as possible. So it becomes a great touch point.
So Eddy Finance is aligning also with the launch of Zeta Chain, or probably, of course, the blockchain should launch first before the DApp application will be running. So majority of the community will be asking this: when mainnet, is it close, or can you give us an alpha about it, or?
Yeah, so essentially we were also, in terms of like, we're just like building the whole infra, or we're introducing, let's say, more nuanced pool mechanisms and more nuanced sort of swapping logic, and we're like confident on testing it out. We'll be launching near the Zeta Chain's mainnet, and then you can come and test us out on the mainnet, and that's going to be sometime soon.
Yeah, okay. Before we go to the last part, let's try to show. Can you show us your platform on the testnet setup? Can you share your screen, or do you have it?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Let me just pull it up.
Let's try to view and do some navigation on how easy it is.
Yeah, for sure. Just give me a second. Let me just. I don't know if I'm able to present the screen.
Can you share?
Just give me a second. I'm trying to.
Chill. Can you assist? Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, this testing phase, are you on the last part of it, or this is the first testnet that gets live?
So this is sort of, we launched on Athens 2, now this is Athens 3. I hope my screen's visible.
Yeah, okay, there. Okay.
Yeah, so let me just walk you through. Yeah, so you just go to Eddy.finance. This opens up our landing page here. We talk about what we're doing. You can just go and launch the app. This is all of our screen. You can just use any network. You can also, so I'm just going to show you, like, I can connect my BTC wallet. Actually, I think it's on my other browser, so probably I'll just skip it. This is my transaction being done, and then I can go back to my homepage. Just wait for the transaction to go through. These are like my transaction history, and you can see like this is being done, right? So I can open up the Ether scan. This has gone through, and then the transaction is just being like pending. You're just waiting for the confirmation. This will be the block time that's being done on Ethereum. Same way you can go and check for Zeta Chain and Polygon when it arrives. So as simple as that. And within, let's say, next minute or two, I should have my testnet Matic. So this is my Goerli to T Matic. And yeah, I think it is an interesting. So if you have like, let's say faucets for example, if you have faucets on Bitcoin which are free, or even testnet Polygon, I think you can get Goerli. So I think if you're running short on Goerli, Eddy is a great way to bring your other testnet tokens to Goerli.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's very nice.
Let me also, if you want, I can also show you the Bitcoin demo on the other browser.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Can you share your screen again?
Yes, for sure.
So you'll be adding asset along the way from time to time. There will be this asset first, then you're adding more and more.
Yes, absolutely. So here you can see I've connected my XT5 wallet, which is a Bitcoin wallet, and yeah, I can go and select Bitcoin. Though I have less Goerli here, but
okay.
Let me just show you like an example. So yeah, I'm not sure if I would have enough gas, but yes, essentially I can go and swap it out. Yeah, I don't know, it's not popping up. Yeah, I think I don't have enough gas here, but generally the essence is I think it will be on a third browser, but generally the essence is you can now swap between two chains or ETH to BTC and enter the amount that you have. So essentially you can now move, and then that arrives on my XT5 wallet here.
Now the gas fee that will be used on your swap will be the source chain? Yes,
it will be the source chain. It will be, so we calculate, and then the next step, the gas that you see here is the gas that will be calculated according to both chains, and that's cut in the Goerli. So that's there.
Yeah, amazing. So it's very simple and easy to navigate in the process with underlying technology that is very advanced and new, which is basically omni-chain contract, subcontract. Now, you've been engaged with, are you doing extensive community outreach already? How do we contact and connect with Eddy Finance at the moment?
So we're very active on Twitter as well as our Discord channels, and then you can just hop on, visit our website, and you can find the Discord as well as our Twitter links, and you can just shoot us a DM there, be active on the community, post your questions, raise a ticket if you're facing any issue, and our team's working 24/7 to be there, and then like resolve the query, actively engage. And yeah, so another interesting aspect is where the reward system that we're running. So what we do is, let's say you have a leaderboard, and then for every swap that you make, every day you get allotted 200 points. For every referral that you create and your friend makes your first swap on the testnet, you get 1,000 points. And that's why we are actively sort of incentivizing users or our community to come and try the Eddy Finance's testnet and give us constant feedback. So we have our channel set on Discord specifically for gathering quality feedback and then working on that. And that also essentially correlates to how we can improve the user experience, how we can improve the UI, what all do you need as users to get optimized on. Another thing that we just recently launched, it's only applicable on mobile, and that's why I couldn't present it out here, is that we have introduced Zeta Chain swaps as well, which is ZRC20 token swaps that go live. You can do it on your mobile phones, and those also give you 200 points each swap. So as intuitive as that, and then we have our own faucet that lets you mint Eddy tokens as well as Zeta token, and then you can test them out on the testnet as well. So
yeah, definitely this is an opportunity for us to do some testnet, and of course it's incentivized in the process with Eddy Finance. So let's try to connect to their Telegram, Discord, and able to ask question on how to get started with your testnet in the process. So yeah, we're on the last part of our show. I would like to ask also, like, are there any upcoming furthermore development or features for Eddy Finance that you are doing, particularly like roadmaps?
Yes, for sure. So in the next week, we'll be launching our pools where now you can put in your testnet tokens and get a yield out of them. Obviously, when that comes to mainnet, it culminates into you earning good chunk of yield on your stable coins without any slippage or without any risk of losing money, right? So essentially, you can now put in pools which are only stable coins. Then you also have native asset pools where you can put in your money and sort of get that yield. Another big aspect of it is having Bitcoin community getting more involved in the whole DeFi ecosystem. So those pools will again enable like a good touch point for you to earn yield on your Bitcoin that's been sitting around in on this market. So that's obviously in work. Second is we are also bringing like a couple of interesting things coming to our rewards program, and that is something that we'll be announcing next week. More than that, I think another interesting aspect is how we are also building the stable swap mechanism, which is I think currently just under closed testing rooms. That will go public soon. So anybody in the community or any user can now hop on and do stable swaps across chains, which is omni-chain stable swap sort of AMM. So that will go live. There's a lot of development been happening, and then obviously as we gear up towards the mainnet launch, you'll be able to see more optimized pools which are based on concentrated liquidity.
Yeah, that's very nice. Now, as a DGen, I would like to ask this because I've been doing heavy yield farming. So there are yield farming opportunities for this, right? To be a liquidity provider, the aspect.
Yes.
That's amazing. So I could probably use my Bitcoin to be an LP also, put it into Bitcoin.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we will have multiple pools, and obviously if you're holding BTC, you can earn good amount of yield on BTC, as well as you have stable coin pools which do not have risk to impermanent loss as well. So according to your needs and according to what you want to optimize on, we'll have a lot of opportunities for users like you to do some good DGen plays and get a good yield farming out of that.
Definitely. So guys,
and also you can like
go ahead.
No, I was saying, and then what interesting parts again you can do with Eddy is again just try and see where the yield is maximized now, and then keep on hopping chains. So you can automate that stuff with Eddy, where you can see if you're getting better yields on one chain, you can move the liquidity and keep on moving it with something that we'll be launching soon. So you can optimize your yields across chains with Eddy soon.
Yeah, that's a great opportunity for a healthy provider and yield farmer for sure. Be able to move your pool asset from different across the blockchain natively. So yeah, I think we're on almost on the last part now. Can you any last word about what do we expect? Eddy Finance will be, I think, be live by 2024 or Q4 in 2023.
Yeah, we'll be live at end of our Q4 sort of cycle, and then that's when you can use on the mainnet. And yeah, we're just inviting everybody in the community to come and be a part of the journey, try and test it out, all the swaps, the cross-chain capabilities, enjoy the rewards programs. We'll be running like a great NFT early sort of OG folks who helped us out, and as a token of appreciation, we'll be launching an NFT soon. So I think it's a great time that's brewing in this space, and we're at the hench of it. So happy to have folks just come and try out, share your feedback as much as possible, and then yeah, we'll be pushing for the mainnet launch end of Q4.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good avenue. Thank you so much, Mr. Mrigank, for coming on our show. It's definitely a good learning aspect, having to know about omni-chain and native aspect of cross-chain from different blockchains. So this is really a big narrative in the aspect of blockchain innovation for sure, because for sure the future will be multiple of blockchain running different DeFi apps, and omni-chain is, I think, one of the forefront technology will be probably be running that would optimize the current DeFi industry or space on our DeFi environment. So thank you so much, sir, for coming in, and we're really looking
Thanks for having me
forward
here.
looking forward to connect with Eddy Finance soon, once you're live, and of course for our community with the testnet process. So see you soon, sir, and
See you.
really
Thanks for having me here. I think it was a great chat and very insightful for me to also hear what the regions in the community are doing. So happy to be here, and thanks for taking out time to invite me.
yeah, definitely, sir. Thank you so much for coming in. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye bye.